No, it's not happening. I'm not doing this. Okay. I should go for a walk. I'll be right back. Whew.
I can't find the star.
Hey everyone, we are back in my apartment kitchen and we have husband/camera person Mike on the phones as cameras. We have not very much time until the baby wakes up, so I want to show you this week's Genius recipe, which is a totally new way to roast chicken that gives you the best of all worlds. It makes very, very tender, falling apart meat and very, very crispy skin, thanks to a very strange and surprising Genius trick. Very strange, very surprising, very fun. This recipe comes from Lindsay Maitland Hunt's new cookbook, Help Yourself, and it is for slow roasted chicken with extra crispy skin. And there's really not very much that you need to do before you chuck it in the oven, which is really wonderful. There are some recipes that have you like brown the chicken in a pan first or truss it, or you need to get ready to be basting it all along or flipping it on its sides. This one, you pretty much just stick some aromatic things inside the chicken, season it with salt and pepper, and then forget about it in the oven for a couple hours. So I'm just gonna show you what all that looks like. I find this all very handy because I do not have a lot of time to be fussing with a lot of steps in recipes. It's really nice to be able to just stick it in the oven and not think about it too much for a while, and then end up with this really incredible, almost rotisserie style chicken that you can like pull apart with your hands. This recipe calls for rosemary and lemons to be stuffed inside. I do not have rosemary, I have thyme. And any like hard herb, like sage, rosemary, thyme, things that are going to respond well to heat, those are good things to stuff inside. You could do onion, you could do garlic, things that you like to stuff in chickens will all go well here. But here we're doing just lemon and thyme. And I will address the sad fact that this chicken has arrived with a little bit of a tear in its skin, but that's gonna be fine. Not gonna worry about that. I'm gonna pat this guy dry. And that's just to help the skin, along the way to crisping, take off some of that extra moisture that's hanging out on the skin. Even though the real crisping action is gonna happen later on. It just needs some salt and pepper sprinkled all over, and that's it. And it goes straight in the oven. This recipe calls for a 4-pound chicken, but what arrived was 2.5-pound chicken. So it's gonna cook a little bit faster, but it'll still work. So let me get this other guy out.
Secret chicken.
Secret chicken swap. The fact is, I cannot cook this chicken until I'm done crisping the other one's skin. So this one's gonna cook later. Now you've seen what you need to do to the chicken to get him ready to go in the oven. To be honest, I'm going to have to cook him later because what I need to do now is show you the chicken that I already cooked and the next step of this recipe, and I will cook him after we're done shooting. I only have one oven. Wait, but I need to talk about Lindsay's book. Still, sorry.
Okay.
Okay, this chicken is seasoned.
Oh, there's one in here. Sorry. Okay.
Put this here.
What's this doing? When did I cook this chicken?
I cooked it myself this morning. Really backed myself into a corner here. Okay.
Rolling.
Okay, so this chicken is ready to go in the oven. It is a good time to call Lindsay. I have to confess though, I already have a chicken cooked in there, and this guy needs to cook later because I need to show you what's gonna happen with that chicken next. Lindsay, thank you so much for being game to call in and tell us more about your delicious chicken that we're about to make.
Yeah, I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for having me virtually.
Where are you right now?
I'm in Wyoming at my parents' house. I left like 12th of March because my apartment there is a shoebox. And it was pretty clear pretty quickly that if I stayed alone in that tiny apartment, I was going to lose my mind. So I headed out west.
Next time we'll be in person in the studio.
Sounds great.
Can you just tell me more about this chicken? How did you come across this chicken roasting technique?
For this book, I wanted to do something that was slow roasted. I knew that from the get-go. And simply that was because it seemed like a good idea. I knew that it would be easy to carve, pull the meat off the bone. And I also give a broth called Trash or Treasure broth in the book. And so I thought this will be great. You can pull the bones right out, put them in a bag. But what I discovered is that when you slow roast chicken, the skin doesn't really get crispy. And in fact, you can just like pull it off like a sheet. And I was looking at it and thinking like, okay, what am I going to do with this? Normally I would stick it in the broth. That sounds great. But I decided to throw the skin back on a sheet into the oven while I picked the meat off the bones of the chicken. And they came out these like amazingly crispy little chicken skin croutons. And that was the thing that made me realize like, this is the only chicken I ever want to make ever again, because you get every single piece of meat off the bone. The bones are clean to put into the broth bag in the freezer. And then you get these just like almost bacony little bits of chicken skin that taste unbelievably good. And once I was there, why would I ever make another chicken again?
Absolutely. What is the ideal moment to be pulling off the skin? Because right when it's immediately out of the oven, it's a little hot, and you give a tip about using tongs.
The reason I leave the skin on to roast the chicken is that I want the fat and the flavor from the skin to infuse the meat as it roasts. Were you to take it off beforehand, you might end up, even though it's slow roasted, you might end up with like a dry chicken, or you would have to add oil or something to keep the meat moist. But it's like a full package. The chicken does its own. It's self-basting with the skin on. And once you get it to the right internal temperature, as soon as you're comfortable to either use tongs and pull the skin off quickly, I maybe have asbestos fingers, as my grandfather called them. So I can touch it, maybe 10 minutes after. But if that's too uncomfortable, you can wait. There's nothing that's going to happen to the meat. It doesn't dry out. You could cover it with foil. And then when the chicken is cool enough to handle, you can pull the skin off and return it to the oven.
So can you tell us a little bit more about this book and what you were hoping when you decided to write it?
This is the book, Help Yourself, a guide to gut health for people who love delicious food. So much of diet culture is talking about what you can't have. And I really don't want to think about that. Like, I still want to eat dessert, it being my main goal. And so what I wanted to help people realize is that eating with your microbes in mind helps you go for overall health. And so there's this scorecard in the back of the book that you can copy or print out online. And the idea is that it helps you check off those little check marks to see, did I eat for my gut today? Like, it's a little pet you house inside you, like a Tamagotchi, like, did I take care of it? Or like a Furby.
So how does this recipe with endorsing eating lots of crispy chicken skin fit into a book that is all about gut health?
My intention isn't to say, let's only eat what we know the microbes like. There's so many other reasons that we eat, and, not just for health or this idea of protein. It's also because there's a psychological element to eating and wanting something delicious. So my idea was, let me do an easy chicken, something I haven't done before that I didn't do in my first book, Healthy-ish, that would make it easy to have smaller portions of meat.
What is it about this method that makes it so that you can have small portions of chicken, would you say?
I noticed that when people carve a roast chicken, you like cut off the breast on one side, you cut off the breast on the other side, you take off the thigh, you take off this, and then you might eat, over a quarter of a chicken, maybe a little more. But what I like about the slow roasted chicken is that I can just take a few little bits and throw that on top of brown rice with some vegetables. You could have just a few bites of chicken for the flavor, for the satiety, those little crispy chicken bits. So it's more of an ease approach. I'll make it for, the week. And so I'll make sure that everything is in bite-sized pieces already, so it's easy to grab from the fridge, or freeze half of it actually.
What about the skin? Does the skin freeze well?
No, eat the skin.
Okay.
I don't feel like that'll be a hard task.
Well, it's a really, really wonderful recipe, and I'm very excited to be sharing it with more people. This was in the oven for an hour and 45 minutes. If you have a bigger chicken, it'll probably be more like 2 hours. The way to tell if it's done is have an instant read thermometer. You just poke it in to the thickest part of the thigh. That's the one you really want to know is 165 Fahrenheit. You also probably want to just give it a little poke somewhere in the thick part of the breast to make sure that's cooked through too. And the great thing about slow roasting is that if you've gone over, it's really not a big deal. Unlike with high heat roasting, where you really want to catch it right when it gets to 165, or you're in danger of the breast meat overcooking and drying out and losing all its moisture. With slow roasting, everything happens more gradually. So if you go over, it's really not that big a deal. But if you don't have an instant read thermometer, what I do when I either don't have mine handy or I just don't necessarily trust the reading I'm getting is I just peek. So I take a knife. This is a good spot to peek. You can see that the juices are pretty clear. You can see that the meat is firm and opaque and on the whiter end of the spectrum, as opposed to pink and soft like it was when it was raw. So that all looks cooked. You can even peek in the breast. You're gonna be pulling this chicken apart in the end anyways. It doesn't really matter if you give it a few peeks. But now we get to take the skin off. So look at that. It just all comes off super easily. And any parts that stick, just go with your paring knife and free them. And it doesn't matter if it all comes off in one piece or in lots of pieces, because you're gonna be crumbling it up in the end anyway. I know this is not the most beautiful cooking footage you've seen on Food 52's channels, but it's all for a good cause. And you'll be doing it alone in your kitchen, so you don't have to worry about it. I'm the only one who has to worry about it. And then this guy will just be totally shreddable. This is the thing about slow roasting that I love, is that they are incredibly easy to carve. They're so relaxed from being in the oven at low heat for all this time that they basically are showing you exactly where they want to come out. Look at that, so easy. And then, you know, you could serve it like this, or you can just pull it off in big chunks and have the whole thing be a pulled chicken. I forgot to preheat the oven, so those are gonna hang out a sec while I finish carving the bird. It just needs to preheat to 425 to get them good and crispy. Taking the breast off is, you know, pretty similar to carving any chicken, although you could honestly just like really tear it off with or without a paring knife to help you, because it's so tender. There. So now I get to decide if I'm gonna slice it or pull it. I think I'll slice the breast because I can. But if some pieces come off in little shreds like that, that's also fine. So here, really quick, I'll just slice this guy. Oh yeah, he's like totally tender and falling apart. This is the thing about slow roasting, is that both the dark meat and the white meat that are totally different really seem to like it. The dark meat has all of this connective tissue and it stays tough until it has enough time to kind of melt and get really like relaxed and juicy. Breast meat is not blessed with connective tissue in the same way that thighs are, and so it really does not like to be cooked for a long time. And yet, slow roasting really helps both of these out and makes them their best selves. Like, look how juicy and shreddy both of these kinds of meat are. It's really just like the best rotisserie chicken you've ever had, except that it has crispy skin too. And all of this meat is coming so cleanly away from the bones that you can just throw your bones straight into a pot and make a little bit of stock. You do not need to have anything special to make chicken stock. You can just toss a small amount of bones into a pot with a little bit of water, maybe throw in like half an onion or a couple garlic cloves, some odds and ends of vegetable scraps that you have around, and just let that simmer for, you know, an hour or two, and then strain it out. You can make a small amount and then make soup the next day, or freeze it, save it for other things. Once I learned that, I started making chicken stock a lot more often. Mike can attest.
All the time.
These guys just need to go in the oven to crisp up. And this is all gonna go in here to make stock. I'm even keeping the herbs and the lemon. And then all of this juice from the pan and the juice that's gonna come from that skin pan. There's no way to make that sound good. Basically, all of the rendered chicken juices and fat are gonna go on top of there too. There is no part of this chicken that is going to be wasted.
What about the feathers?
We didn't receive the feathers, so we don't have to worry about them. So all of that good chicken juice and schmaltz is just gonna go on top of this chicken. And any bits that are left behind go in the stock pot. This crispy chicken skin is done. Look how crunchy all of that is. When you're ready to serve this, it's gonna get this crunchy chicken skin, some flaky salt if you want, and then in Lindsay's recipe, she calls for chopped parsley. I do not have chopped parsley, but I do have fennel fronds, the herb that just manages to stay fresh for a really long time. And so I'm using that anytime I want a hit of green freshness. And it's a part that a lot of times recipes tell you to discard. Don't discard it, keep it for situations like this when you don't have parsley. Oh, and then these lemon wedges also go on. Look at those. All right, I'm gonna get all my other garnishes going. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm gonna snack on a piece of chicken skin first. You hear how crunchy that is? That would never have happened with a slow roasted chicken. It actually probably would not have happened with a high heat roasted chicken either. That is excellent. And it's exactly the right thing to do when you find yourself with spare chicken skin. Sorry, the baby woke up. So, this whole production is sort of off the rails. And now, all this needs is the rest of its garnishes. So we got lemon wedges for serving. Let's do lemon wedges all around. And then green stuff, like parsley or fennel fronds. And flaky salt. This is amazing. This is working really well, actually.
Better than I ever expected.
We're gonna go eat some chicken. Well, here, first I'll try it. It's good chicken. You wanna try some? Okay, little one. You wanna try some chicken? You wanna try some chicken? No, we're not trying chicken.
That was the risk we were taking.
I hope you guys love this recipe. Let me know what you think. I'll see you next week. Maybe she will too. If you would like to make this recipe, it is linked down below. And if you would like more recipes like this every week, be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel. And check back next week. Maybe the baby will eat what I'm making, maybe not, we don't know. What else? I'm sorry. I'm not used to doing this with a squirming monkey on me. We'll see you guys next week. All of us.